Hot, dry days here in Calcasieu Parish are making things tough for farmers like Brandon Vale and their livestock and a young rice crop.
If we can get a disaster over here, we're going to get it. This is something that kind of started shaping up about last November. And we thought it was just going to be kind of nice. We'd have a dry winter for a change, you know, easy on the cows, easy to put hay out, ryegrass would grow good. Had some oats I grew for seed. They grew out really nice. About March, we realized it's really getting kind of dry for this time of year.
According to WAFB Chief Meteorologist Jay Grimes, the entire state has experienced some level of drought this year.
Drier than normal means that our threat for flooding goes down. Unfortunately, it was unusually dry, even by winter standards, during much of the winter and into the early part of the spring. So most of the state started rolling into the spring drier than normal, hence pasture problems and moisture deficits.
According to Grimes, southwest Louisiana is so far behind the normal rainfall, as much as 15 inches in places. That means Vale and others in the region are going to be pulling more water from bayous than normal. Due to the drought, that water is saltier than usual.
Being this close to the Gulf, you're going to deal with that. We're some of the first ones to catch it just because of our proximity to Calcasieu locks. So salt's an issue we know how to deal with. Being that it's so dry, you have no other rainfall recharge coming into your canals, your bayous, or anything. So your salt is starting to reach further and further up than it normally would.
Grimes says conditions suggest we should start to see some of those recharged rains very soon.
So we're hopeful that we'll start to see those summertime afternoon thunder showers kick in the coming weeks. Right now, there's no reason to expect that they won't. But until they do, some of our Acadiana and southwestern ag folks are going to be dealing with unanticipated moisture stress.
That stress is hitting Vale's crops, but also him. Moving really salty water onto fields of young rice is a tough choice to make. But Vale says he really doesn't have another option.
I've got some stuff at Grain Ring. It's actually got 140. But the thing is, at this point, I have no choice. I have to put water or I lose the crop just strictly to drought stress. It's kind of one of those deals, hey, if we don't put the salt water, you're not going to have the yield anyway. So.
In Calcasieu Parish, I'm Karl Wiggers for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
Now, as you heard in Karl's story, Grimes says it looks like we could see rainfall trending closer to normal in the coming weeks. That's especially good news for our friends farming along the Gulf Coast. Until then, Vale and others in that area continue to pump brackish waters onto their rice fields. Well, we're only weeks away from the official beginning of hurricane season, so farmers praying for rain in May could be saying different prayers in August. Colorado State University is predicting another above-average hurricane season in the Atlantic with 19 named storms. That does not bode well for Louisiana, according to LSU Ag Center climatologist and WAFB Chief Meteorologist Jay Grimes. He says many weather conditions that existed over the last 2 years will be in place during the 2023 hurricane season.
The Gulf is already warm enough, and it's going to stay that way through the season. So we've got that factor there. Number two, with La Nina in place and expected to continue, it looks like we're not going to have very much wind shear at the mid and upper levels. So once storms start to organize, they'll have an environment that's good for them to continue to grow. Number three is that it looks like we could have periods of high pressure over the central Atlantic, large domes of high pressure, and the storms have to skirt around those to the south of them, which means they turn north later, which brings more of them into the Caribbean and potentially the Gulf. And then number four, if we're talking about another very busy season, the elevated number of storms alone just means the potential for some of those to get into the Gulf goes up as well. And keep in mind, when we start talking about these storm numbers, historically 1 in 3 tropical systems in the Atlantic either form in the Gulf or end up in the Gulf. And for Louisiana, as soon as it's in the Gulf, we have to be ready and prepared.
As always, we will keep you up to date here on TWILA as storms come our way. Oftentimes, though, our Facebook is a better place to get the latest on storms headed this way and what that means for farmers, ranchers, and rural residents. We'll link you to that on our website at twilatv.org. Well, after the break, TWILA's Avery Davidson joins us to talk more about the upcoming storm season in Louisiana and see what you should be doing to get ready. Stay with us.